How's it going? What's up? What's up? It's been a few days. Went on a little Christmas holiday. Something happened while I was gone. There was a creator by the name of CJ on TikTok who, at this point, Marxist-Leninists are ready to just call this guy a federal agent because that's what he is. That's how he's behaving. CJ's a self-proclaimed anarchist who is in opposition to all states, and he made a little video talking about happy collapse of the USSR Day and how all communists should celebrate the collapse of the USSR. So let's just get this right out the way. The USSR did not collapse. That is the lie that we are told. When the USSR was dissolved and destroyed internally by the likes of Gorbachev, there was a lot of violent pushback. Many Russians were very committed to the USSR. 71% of them voted to keep the USSR intact. Now, Marxist-Leninists will let you know that the USSR had plenty of problems at this point in 1991, but they were still a beacon of hope as well as an arm of anti-imperialist resistance. They were arming resistances. They were siding with resistances. Something that we don't have anymore. Right? We don't have that country that's sticking up for the small revolutions like we once did. China. Deng Xiaoping. Revisionism. Socialist with Chinese characteristics. Yes, China. China does not arm resistances. China does not support revolutions. This is a hole, this is a gap that we are left with after the collapse of the USSR. Now, I'm not here to say China's imperialist because they don't support revolutions. I'm not here to say that the USSR was absolutely perfect in 1991 and didn't need anything to change. What I'm saying is Gorbachev was a liberal, a capitalist, who was probably working in cahoots with Western capitalists to win the Cold War for the US. Even today, if given a fair vote in Russia, the amount of people who would want the USSR to return would be roughly 50%. And that's even today, where we would mostly be relying on nostalgia that doesn't even exist for my group. I was born some 12, 13 years after this happened, after the collapse, the fall. And even I, as an American with absolutely no guidance and no help to push me towards socialism, to push me towards the USSR, I will always stand on defending the USSR and defending the illegal, the unwarranted, unwanted destruction of the state that was the Soviet Union. I think this has been a really tough, I've really gone back and forth with this China debate. But I think, looking back on it, people who had concerns with the revisionist tendencies of the USSR at this point, I believe those people should still have supported the USSR and supported them vocally, as opposed to what CJ and what anarchists would do, which is condemn and celebrate the fall of the state. And so, if we're going to apply this as Marxist-Leninists to the USSR up until 1991, do we have to do this for China? In my mind, yeah. In my mind, generally, when speaking to other people about better options, I do bring up China. I bring up China as a example of success, even though I myself view their economics as revisionism. I don't believe socialism and a free market can coexist. And I believe China is the evidence of that. I think some companies, like maybe Huawei, which is basically just a union company, can you say that Huawei being unionized and worker owned, which it's not technically worker owned is all workers have ownership. It's not a certain percentage, it's not the top earners, it's not the longest, the most, what's the word? The most vetted workers. I can't think of the fucking word. You know what I mean. The people who've been at the company the longest. Like, everybody has ownership. That's what socialism is. But is Huawei being ran this way, taking money from the capitalists, the owners, the bourgeois, and giving it to the workers? Is it actually a transfer? Or is it some people get a slightly bigger bag while the rest of people are still exploited? Fucking lighter, won't light. But yeah, I think obviously criticize Khrushchev. Khrushchev, I believe, is the man that started the ball rolling on destroying the USSR and basically just creating a whole lot of questions for even people within the USSR. Questions for people everywhere. What did Stalin really do? What was Stalin really like? What was the USSR really like? Because when we have these rifts, these large disagreements, we end up with, in my mind, people who think quite similarly to how I think, but are on a complete opposite end of the spectrum. And I don't really want to attack anarchists. Like, if you really want to continue to be an anarchist and you want to fight against the revolution, I'm not worried about that. We're already up against numbers. Okay, so go join the cops, go fight with the cops, and call yourself some valiant anti-statist or whatever the fuck you want to call yourself. But, that's whatever. People are going to join the cops and the nationalists. This is known, okay? This is why understanding guerrilla warfare is so fundamental to an idea like communism. But just really, how can you view yourself as anti-imperialist when you side with imperialism in the case of the USSR? I mean, you're really just doing well, they're both bad, but I just want, attention. Because there is absolutely no way in hell you're going to convince anybody, that in total the USSR was more imperialist and more evil than the United States. I mean, that idea alone is asinine. Nobody can believe that. And this is where the term tanky comes from. people like me see the USSR roll tanks in, and we don't call it imperialism. Why? I'll tell you why. It's because I see through you, right? I see through you. When someone who will defend America, defend Israel, defend all of these companies, literally, Israel is a company being ran by our money, right? They have to have people there as collateral to claim that it's a legitimate country. It's not. It's an occupation. When you have people that are making these arguments, who then all of a sudden want to point out violence when it's in retaliation to your oppression and your apartheid, really, I just want to sock you right in the fucking mouth. Because I have been expressing to you the dangers that humans are in. And you're shrugging it off saying, well, we need this to happen for global trade or whatever the fuck, right? Oh, we got to keep trade lanes open, so fuck those Houthis, right? People who talk like this do not care about other human beings. And so the moment someone who does not care about other human beings is now claiming to care about human beings, you know you are being lied to and manipulated. Okay, you know it immediately because this person does not do that. They do not advocate for the health and the well-being of other human beings. That's not what they advocate for. If you advocate for the continuance of capitalism, the continuance of United States imperialism, you are advocating for your own interests. You are advocating to keep things the way they are because, as bad as things may be, it's good enough for me. And I'm worried things might get worse for me. I'm not actually worried about all these other people. And that's exactly what it is. And so you can't let these people guilt trip you. You can't let people tell you, oh, you're really siding with Hamas. You don't care about people. Why do people do this? You clearly do not care enough to attempt to fight what is happening. And then when it's convenient, when our side is rolling tanks towards the people that have been slaughtering children, all of a sudden, oh, we're tankies. Those are the imperialists. Those are basically just red fascists. What are we doing? What are we doing? You claim to be against the state? Fucking shoot back.